So you may or may not have seen that the Australian government and Anthony Albanese have effectively banned social media for those under the age of 16. What I don't like about this and why you should be concerned is because the Australian government thinks they know how to raise your children better than you do. This is a level of overreach and arrogance that the Australian people are probably used of by now. We've certainly gotten used to governmental overreach here in Australia. It's just part of the course, really, especially with the Labor government. I mean, we saw it in Victoria during the pandemic, and with the lockdowns. That was just a level of overstep and overreach that it defies explanation, and so many people were impacted by that. Those outside of Australia will never fully understand or appreciate just how detrimental it was to our economy, our social life, everything. And Australians will feel those effects for years, for decades to come. And now we have the Australian government, Anthony Albanese's Labor government in particular, coming out and banning social media for those that are 16 years old and under. What can I say? This is just a thinly veiled attempt to implement a system of digital ID so that the government can better track you and I during our day-to-day life and existence. Now, the argument against this is, you use Face ID to unlock your phone and all of this. Apple has your face, Apple has your fingerprint, or Google has your fingerprint, or some ridiculous thing like that. They're a private enterprise. They aren't a governmental body. It's quite a bit different. When the government comes out and says that they're trying to protect you and your children from harm, that is when you should be worried. That is a thin masquerade used to implement tyranny. Now, Australian citizens should be deeply concerned about this overreach, this overstepping of the boundaries, because effectively, not only does this mean the implementation of a digital identification system, but it also tells the Australian public that the Australian government knows how to raise children better than you do. The Australian government wants to insert themselves into your life and effectively take the reins off of you in order to parent your children. It should be on the parent and the child to discuss who should and shouldn't use social media. It's on them to discuss the implementation of social media. It's on them to discuss boundaries regarding social media. And there's always going to be children that overstep boundaries. That's just part of growing up. When I was 15, I was on Facebook and we organized parties and stuff. And we kept in touch that way. You met people through social media. You met people through Facebook. And I just worry that this is going to specifically target marginalized children that may have social anxiety issues, anxiety disorders, depression. Those kids that, no kid should be depressed anyway, but it's a fact of life. It's going to target those children that are most vulnerable and are at the most risk when it comes to connection. These kids deserve to connect outside of, real interactions. So I just worry that these kids aren't going to be able to find communities and friends groups that they otherwise would had they had access to social media. These concerning developments are only the beginning when it comes to tyranny in Australia. I would be deeply concerned if I were you, an Australian citizen, going forwards. This doesn't spell anything good for the future, especially for your children. So be mindful. Raise your voice, use the platforms that you can while you can still use them. And who knows, maybe with the advent of the Trump election in 2024, now that he's the president-elect, maybe that will send shockwaves throughout the global political system. And hopefully we see a swing by the Liberal coalition and Peter Dutton. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not right or left. I find as much flaws with both sides of the political coin. But hopefully Peter Dutton can turn this around and implement and make the necessary changes to reverse this. But I'm not holding out hope, and perhaps neither should you. But I would definitely be concerned about this. This is going to spell disaster for future generations of Australians should this actually go into effect and become written into law. Anyways, thank you for bearing with me. I'm curious to know what you guys have to say. Let me know in the comments below, and until the next video, my name is Aussie Marcel, and I'll catch you guys around.